So a lot of this format is going to mostly be in Q&A. Oh, okay, better? Yeah. So the format for today will mostly be in the form of a Q&A, because we want people to be able to give their opinions, their feedback, their thoughts. And I assume there'll be times when you want to ask DOT to explain something or to clarify. Feel free to do that. And DOT or whoever can, in some cases I might do that too, might clarify just to make sure that not only are you giving feedback and we're hearing it, but also that you understand what is being proposed here, for a future build. All right. So that's it for the intro. What I want to do is have everyone, if you want, folks at DOT, you can give a quick overview of the plan if you feel like it. If not, we can launch straight into Q&A and have people ask their questions and sort of unveil the answers as we go.
I think we could skip the presentation and go straight to people's comments. Let me just say before we get started that for those of you who weren't here last time, we came to the community board first with the proposal in June, and from there we're going and talking to a lot of different stakeholders along the corridor, and we're not done with those conversations. So this is part of that, and our hope is that we can get some useful feedback from you tonight, or get some more useful feedback from other stakeholders along the corridors in the area, and come back to you with an updated proposal that addresses some of those concerns. And I want to thank the community board for setting this up and helping us get this feedback.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Hi.
Feel free.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I live in Crown Heights. I know this is not my community board, but Crown Heights, since it's in my neighborhood, I still not my community board. But I want to ask, like, why the DOT? Why is Transalt influencing your plans? I don't see no real community input with this design. This is more like a Transalt design. Can you explain why Transalt, a lobbyist organization, a nonprofit that is owned by Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all these corrupt organizations, why are they influencing this design plan that's going to hurt this district? That's going to hurt this area? Can you explain?
Yes. This plan was not put together by Transalt. We put it together on our own, based on some of our priority safety geography. So I'll go look at a couple slides. If you're not familiar with Vision Zero, I went too far. If you're not familiar with Vision Zero, it's a plan where we look at all of our pedestrian severe injuries and fatalities citywide, and we revise this plan every few years. And based on the locations of those severe injuries and pedestrian fatalities, we come up with priority geographies. So Vision Zero priority corridors, priority intersections, and priority areas. And we use that as a way to focus our efforts for redesigning city streets to make them safer. Elena and I are part of the school safety group. So our specific goal is to improve safety for children and for people going to schools. And briefly, talking about the Vision Zero priority geography, Kingston Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor. Empire Boulevard is a Vision Zero priority corridor, and Rutland Road is also a Vision Zero priority corridor. In addition, there is a huge concentration of schools within a block of Brooklyn and Kingston Avenue, south of Empire. We got complaints from the schools initially. The complaints we were getting, I think both from the CB and the schools, was about speeding and some dangerous driving behavior on these streets. We got complaints, remember which school it was? Was it Wingate High School?
Yeah, it was Wingate.
About drag racing on Kingston Avenue. And we see some evidence of that, evidence of donuts in the streets. And we went out and did some observations and collected speed data, and we found that it is, in fact, speeding is an issue here. And we confirmed with our crash statistics that these streets could benefit from a safety redesign. So that's why we're here, for those reasons.
And one more question. Rest in peace to Kamari Hughes. I know a lot of us here black. Why? I know you're the DOT. You oversee Brooklyn. Why they decided in Fort Greene? I know it's Brooklyn Community Board 3. Why they decided to add, instead of them putting a speed bump and doing daylighting at the same spot in Myrtle and Portland, why they decided to put more bike racks and blocks and a cheap speed bump over there? And will you be solution for the school situation to put bike racks and cheap speed bumps, and instead of you putting daylight, instead of you extending the streets and daylighting around those areas.
So I can't speak to the Myrtle and, is it Portland?
Yeah.
The Myrtle and Portland location, but I can tell you that our scope includes a variety of tools that we've used in the past and that work well, including daylighting, including protected bike lanes, working to shorten crossing distances, signal phasing solutions that help improve safety across intersections. But I can't speak to that
And
location.
one more question,
specifically.
are you gonna put more speed cameras in the areas where the schools are at? Like more speed cameras? Start enforcing where the speed cameras at?
Do you know the answer to that? Where they're prioritized and where they go?
There is currently set number of cameras throughout the city, and those locations are set up based on injuries, and these locations get reevaluated every couple of years, and the camera is relocated. We do not have any ability to put additional cameras on the street until New York State changes the law.
It's a state law in terms of getting increase on speed cameras.
Well, I thought Sammy's law changed that, because Sammy's law, let's speak to Sammy, up to Sammy. Sammy's law.
Is it in effect yet?
Sammy's law is in effect. Sammy's law does not allow us to put more speed cameras on the street. The number of cameras on the street remains the same.
If I'm not mistaken, that law is more about speed limits, right?
It is
Cameras?
about speed limits.
So follow the speed limits, we all adjust the speed limits in those areas where school zones are. Like instead of you putting 25, put it at 15, or put it at 10 miles per hour. That probably saves more lives instead of putting at 20 miles per hour.
We will consider reduced speeds and also road diet. So all the designs that we are proposing here are aimed to reduce speeding in the corridor. What we find is that combination of speed limits and physical design elements to reduce speeding work together in tandem best.
Alright, if I can add to maybe help answer a couple of those questions.
Yeah, of course.
It was brought to my attention that school principals from around Indian school asked for some of these to be implemented. So it's not like there's a charity organization pushing these, the principals begging for these to be implemented. That's the first thing. Second thing I want to also add is, yeah, it's also been, there have been studies that showed that people will tend to disobey speed limits if the street they're driving on looks like it's more built for 30 miles per hour than 15. So narrowing the street tends to help people kind of curb that speeding habit. So it's just a way to like add multiple ways to kind of get people to actually abide by the law. You know? You got a question earlier? I saw you, sir. 1 second.
Okay, I did say narrowing the street. Nostman Avenue is narrow with the bus lane. And they speed down here day and night on Nostman Avenue. I'm across Empire Boulevard. The traffic is hectic. The lights don't even mean anything. We need those speed cameras to start checking. Plus, we need police patrols across Empire Boulevard in that area. There isn't any. I'll tell you straight out, there isn't any. I've been living here 57 years and I can tell you. These are the corrections that really need to go into place. And find those who guys speeding the cars, you start finding them, they'll slow down. You start getting those tickets.
Alright. I mean, I see him speed too. I live in the area, so yeah. Alright, I see you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
I want to speak to what you're saying about the schools. It's your focus. I'm a teacher. I live here in CB9. I was biking up to Bushwick for 8 years, and this year I work here in CB9. I'm speaking here as a cyclist. Conditions are awful out there, and they've gotten worse since the pandemic. We're being forced to weave in and out of moving traffic. It's a really terrible situation with the aggressive drivers. And to that end, I'm wondering, what kind of public relations campaign could be considered to sort of put the public relations campaign for sharing the road biker safety. And secondly, I want to speak to your vision here with the schools. I'm pretty sure that the numbers on Vision Zero have been moving backwards. It's just the facts. And I'm wondering, what you're doing feels too small, too little, too late. If you're doing this school, could you do every school in Brooklyn, and why not? So that's and then what about a corridor, a safe corridor from our area to North Brooklyn? You know, I tell you, I've biked to Bushwick every day for 8 years, and that was a nightmare. It's dangerous out there. Any bicyclists can agree. So those are my two questions. One, public relations campaign, and two, why aren't we moving more, faster, bigger? Do it for citywide. Like, this is one block of schools. I know another block of schools. We all do. So thank you. That's all. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, so first question was, are there any sort of outreach campaigns or PR campaigns? There are. I can't speak to them with a lot of detail. There are different campaigns for different modes. We have an in-house street ambassador team that goes out and talks to road users about how to operate the most safely. We have a safety education team that goes to schools and teaches students about how to operate safely. The central tenet of Vision Zero is the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. We're engineering.
Yeah.
We're working, we're doing some education on our own. We're also working with DOE on that. And then the enforcement, of course, is the police piece.
Oh, where are they?
No comment. The second question was, why aren't we doing this everywhere? I agree, we want to do more. There's a few things. One is that making major change is tricky. We need to analyze the potential impact. We need to go around and gather feedback and try to consensus and work with people. I think historically, just coming through and saying we're redesigning the whole city in one way has backfired. But we.
Well, what the schools, even your targeted aim of the schools for to keep it more, smaller.
We're certainly looking to increase the work around schools.
Yeah.
And if you have any ideas of the other schools, please let us know and we can.
I mean, you have the data.
I think we had 2 questions here after. Let me just, you have them.
Yeah, it's school kids. I would agree. There are some.
Sorry. My name is Yossi. I actually work for a school. I'm the director of transportation of one of our local schools. I drive a bus. Happens to be that corridor as part of my
Which school?
United Baptist Yeshiva. It's one of the big boys' schools here in Crown Heights. I lived here all my life. Just when I saw this proposition, I didn't know there was a meeting initially. I would have actually come because I have a stake in this. There's a few things. The idea of the protected bike lane, as personal and in my professional experience. When you park your car, usually like letting off your kids out of the thing. I had many times where I parked into the park, and on one hand, we want the kids to go out onto the sidewalk, let them off the sidewalk, and then there's cyclists on that side, and then you have the cars on that side. So I personally feel that it's a flawed design, if I may say so. It may protect cyclists, fine, but people who are parking their cars with children that want to go to the park or get off at their sidewalk, there's no way to do that, which cyclists blatantly disregard the law, the traffic law. Many times where I'm letting off children, where cyclists disregard the red lights, the bus red lights, they squeeze in between the parked cars, and it's very dangerous. I get very scared, and I've spoken to countless of other colleagues, bus drivers, cyclists totally disregard, and you have the mopeds also, the scooters. It's a whole mesh of things. So the idea of putting a protected bike lane actually makes it dangerous for the children getting on and off the bus, besides the fact of children, people who are parking, want to get onto the sidewalk safely. I went through the proposal. I understand what is trying to be brought. Like I said, I drive daily, multiple times a day through that area, so I can understand Wingate is very wide. I actually thought the idea of making a 2-way street or putting speed bumps on board. There's ways to do it without putting a bike lane. You could even put a bike lane, but not protected bike lane, which hinders and especially children that are going to school over there in Wingate. And, like, also, like the turning, the idea of Brooklyn Avenue, taking off part of the parking and making the turn lane. The Kingston Avenue and Brooklyn Avenue are both heavy traffic areas. And I know, like, cars are flying down Brooklyn Avenue. There is a speed camera on Brooklyn and Sterling Street. And there is, I think speed bumps, I think speed bumps will solve a lot of the problems. But I mean, it's like, I lobbied for a speed bump in front of my school. We still haven't gotten one. I mean, at a different location. We have one, on one location we have, and another location we still haven't gotten one. But like, and also on Maple Street, they have that bike lane that when alternate side, when people park, trucks and buses can't get through because it's so narrow to weave through. So those are my concerns for safety, as well as when cars are double parked, which this is New York City, we're not gonna say you can't double park, everybody double parks. So if you narrow the lane, what happens is trucks and buses can't get through, backed up traffic, and then somebody tries to get through, knocks off a mirror, we have a problem. There's, like the community board, I would like to address enforcement for speed. There's plenty of speeders throughout the area, drag racers, they cover their plates, they have ghost plates or whatever it may be. I know like on Brooklyn and Lefferts by the school, the girls' school over there's a no turning. Once in a while, there's a police car there that actually enforces that. There's no police enforcing. In my close to 10 years of driving a school bus, twice had I had a police officer pull over somebody who ran my red lights, nearly hitting children. In front of police officers and people do it all the time. But I think the idea of this protected bike lane on that corridor, especially in Brooklyn, is, where people live and need to go to their cars and pick up their children and whatnot. I think it's a bad idea, straight up.
All right, so I'm gonna respond to it. Sure. Thank you for your comment, really appreciate you coming. I'll tell you a few things, I think in response to your comments. One is that we've installed protected bike lanes all over the 5 boroughs, a ton in Brooklyn, and we have seen consistent major drops in pedestrian injuries. They're really, it's kind of counterintuitive because you think protected bike lane, cyclists would be the biggest beneficiary of this change. But we see pedestrian safety improve more even than bike safety, and it's because of all the things that come with protected bike lanes. The way we physically narrow the roadway, we shorten the crossing distances. We have installed them, I'm trying to think around here, next to Prospect Park on Flatbush, on Prospect Park West, on Parkside, and on all those we've seen a pedestrian safety benefit. Now, dropping children off at a school bus is a challenge, absolutely, we understand. But we've installed these in many locations, in residential neighborhoods, in commercial neighborhoods, and next to schools.
We have multiple protected bike lanes that we installed next to schools over the years.
My experience has been negative. My kids were getting out of the car, and many times cyclists, I dropped off children by Prospect Park, for instance. I had to have staff like physically stand there because cyclists completely disregarded the kids getting off the bus, and the stop lights were out.
No,
The red lights were out.
Can I respond to that for a second?
Sure.
A lot of these bike lanes have like little buffers, right? Those little zones where cyclists don't ride,
Right.
so that they don't get hit by the door. But they also serve as really useful places where someone can stand and not have a bike hit them.
Correct.
I want to ask, were those children getting out of the car and walking into the bike lane, or were they standing in the safe zone?
So I was parked in a parking spot,
Yeah.
and I have a left door, and I was able to get on, put them straight onto the park. I've done many times. I don't want to block traffic.
All right, so just briefly to finish answering your questions. So this is a cross-section for a lot of the proposal, not for every block, but this is from Lefferts to Rutland on both Brooklyn and Kingston. There's a buffer we always install between protected bike lane, between a curbside bike lane and a floating parking lane, so that you can open your door and get out with, and cyclists don't get hit, right? That's part of it. And also, as part of this design, we would be installing a extra wide parking lane on one side of the street, which has a couple advantages. One, while you shouldn't double park, we do know what happens. And so this is a way that when somebody does double park, a normal sized vehicle is about 7 feet wide, you can get out of the way and other vehicles can still pass. It also means that at the intersections, we can install a curb extension that's shortens the crossing distance here by 13 feet.
Also, by putting one lane on Brooklyn and Kingston Avenues, traffic is already
All right,
backed up?
now let me answer that. So as part of our proposal, and sort of this goes to your question of why we aren't doing more everywhere, is that we need to study a major change in feasibility. So to do this project, we collected traffic data at every intersection that's part of it, down Brooklyn Avenue. And we looked at from different times of the day, how many cars are going straight, how many are turning, what's the modal split, is it, how much of it is taxis versus trucks versus buses versus passenger vehicles. And we have our whole traffic engineering department build a big traffic model and calibrate it to match existing conditions. And then we make changes to what it would do. And in this case, the volumes on Brooklyn Avenue, they are pretty heavy coming off of Eastern Parkway, but they thin as you go lower, and about a third of the traffic turns onto Empire. And so based on our analysis and some tweaks we would be making to the signal timing and other things, we're confident that Brooklyn Avenue, south of Empire, can function as one lane.
Right, but yeah, the road is narrow from Empire till Lefferts is very narrow. And 2 lanes are effectively 1 lane. Like when I drive my bus, I go down the middle because otherwise I'll be side-swiping cars left and right. And there's double parked vehicles that whole corridor.
That is an interesting point, and that's a piece of feedback we've been hearing a lot, actually,
Actually, probably
about
a good
that
piece of, that's
block.
probably a good argument for it to be one lane. One, like, adequately sized lane.
Correct, but like adding a protected bike lane would make it even worse.
Another thing.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Another thing, I guess
Okay.
you all can bear
So
with
we have
me.
one question in the back, guys. I
A
remember.
lot of these bikes are written on the sidewalk that should be outlawed by the state, but the state is not doing
It
it.
is outlawed, but no enforcement.
Well, okay, no enforcement. They riding on, you have to jump out there, coming in the door here tonight, I had to move out the way of a bike on a motorbike on the sidewalk. The laws need to be enforced. If the laws were enforced here in the communities, we would have less problems.
I completely agree. I'm very frustrated when people bike on the sidewalk. I live in the district as well, and I'll be out front in my apartment playing with my 5-year-old son, and somebody in e-bike comes whipping down the street. It's
Yeah.
absolutely infuriating. But something that we've seen citywide is that when we install bike lanes, particularly protected bike lanes, people stop biking on the sidewalk as much. And I think part of it is that when people feel like they don't have a place to bike, and this is not okay, but sometimes they just go on the sidewalk. But if there's space allocated for bikes, we have much better.
There's no
There's
yard, there's no
excuse me,
yard
there's
with
one
a door.
couple. You waiting for a while in the back here, man? Yeah, you
Hi,
can.
I was here at your previous meeting. I have a couplet that I want to say, but I just want to make them brief because I see that you're not taking notes, so I don't know how you're going to follow up.
It's all here.
Okay. The Vision Zero,
It's also recorded though.
Vision Zero, I guess it was modeled after Vision Zero in Sweden. And so here in the United States, especially in New York, we're a more capitalist city. And so although we're talking about safety, and I'm talking about safety for everybody, and it ain't just about the bikes and about the pedestrian, it's for everyone. We're introducing more things onto the road. The Ubers, the Lyfts, the this, the that. So the car owner, I've been living in the neighborhood over 50 years, it seems as if some of us are being penalized for owning the car, but other things are not being enforced. Because like yesterday I was waiting on the corner of Eastern Parkway and Bedford Avenue. The light changed and the person on the bike cut right in front of my car. Right in front of my car. I just missed hitting that person by inches. So that would have been my fault. My insurance would have probably had to pay for that person. They didn't have a helmet on. But I'm not trying to bash the bikers because if that's what you want to do, you have the right to ride the bike. So I'm just saying, I'm looking at some of the slides, and I noticed that some of the areas now, it doesn't appear that there's stop lights at all the corners where the schools are. And you mentioned something about the speed light cameras. You only have X amount of cameras. So one, I would like to know, have you did a survey to see the effectiveness of the cameras that you have there? And I think you said you might be able to reallocate some of the cameras if that's what you said. We can run back on the tape to see if that's what you actually said, to see if possibly we can reallocate some of those in that particular area. And I wanted to know if there was a meeting with FDNY and the police department for the emergency vehicles to go to the locations to see if some of the things that we've introduced, for example, possibly the city bikes, whether they're in the curb or on the sidewalk, does that impede the apparatuses that may be coming to save someone's life because we have these other things that are in place? I know we're talking about bottlenecking and different things like that, but is more people coming to the table? You know, this bus driver here, did you have the bus driver union come and put their input in to see how we as a community at large could somehow think of something, because you're talking about education, enforcement, and engineering. When you talked about you're checking stuff and you're collecting this data, is there someone physically going there? Or is this some type of computer program that's running based on the weight of the vehicle that goes over the thing that counts the cars? So I could go on, but I think that's enough to keep you busy for now.
Yeah, can I ask a question? A follow-up, a quick one. How, speaking of e-bikes, why?
But did he answer my question though?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer the brief question first?
No, actually, you can answer the question, I'm gonna answer.
Oh yeah, go ahead and answer the question.
Okay, so we collect our data, it's collected manually, for the turning movement counts. Our contractor installs a camera and then somebody actually watches the video and counts the number of vehicles. We also, go out ourselves, of course, and visit the site multiple times, visit it for school drop-off and pickup, for the morning and evening peak hours. And we go out there to have meetings with stakeholders, and walkthroughs if necessary.
Can you allocate the cameras that she said that there's a possibility to see because if you're getting tickets in a particular area, in your mind, all you need is one ticket, 2 tickets, that's it. So is there an opportunity to
There's
investigate?
ghost plates and the people cover their plates, so the cameras are practically useless if there's no officers there.
May I ask a question?
Okay, all right.
Live police
To
officers.
speak to the camera question, there is a very limited number of cameras in the city. If we're moving cameras south to this location, it means we are moving them from elsewhere. So
But you said that this was based on the statistics that you provided us here, that says 71% of severe injuries were pedestrian and cyclists, and that's a total of 7 injuries out of 58 incidents. So this is about safety, right? I'm going by your data here. It's 71% of, it's just 7 people, and I'm not saying just 7 people, but what constitutes us looking at this area when you're saying that this has to do with severe injuries, but there's no, say, fatalities, even though you have a category for that?
we'll be happy to pass your recommendation for speed camera along to our engineering unit that
And
evaluates
stoplights,
those
because I didn't
locations.
see stoplights on some of the pictures here for that area, but thank you so much for the consideration.
Quick question. Quick question.
Quick one and then I'll get
All right, cool. One question. I know everybody wants to speak. How will this affect the deliveristas? Are you working to work with deliveristas, like the laws to release those people to work on just a project because they're the main ones that advocate for deliveristas? How this is going to help them because they be on the street instead of the bike lanes?
So I think how it would help them is that they would have a bike lane to ride a bike in. And similar to your question before about, if this is something that TA is proposing, another group is proposing, we are actively proposing this ourselves. Again, we're doing this based on the crash data and the presence of schools.
Will you change the plan to add more like charging stations for the deliveristas because they need someone to charge a bike system like that?
We don't have any plans for that.
We don't have plans for that, but I like the idea. And if you guys, want to make a request for it, we'll do
And
what we
charging
can.
stations around it, especially in Nostrand Avenue because there's a lot of shops around here and they deliver.
Sir?
Are you advocating?
Yes.
My name is Jacob Goldstein, Rabbi Jacob Goldstein. Just ask you guys a question collectively. How many years you guys are working for DOT? Curious. The person has the most seniority on the table.
Sure, I'll answer. I've been here for 13 years.
Great. This idea showed up in 1984. I was the chairman of this community board for 34 years. I had the commissioner come, I had Kathy Keegan, she was in the borough commissioner come. The same idea. We went through this whole thing. I'm sure you're aware there's a school with 1,400 kids that sit on the corner of Lefferts and Brooklyn. And that kids are discharged, and they're near accidents almost every day with parents who go apart. This is the same disaster that I showed Kathy Keegan, and she was a commissioner of DOT. She stood on a corner with me, together with her boss, whose mechanic, his name escapes my mind. We stood there for an hour, and she said, dead. She wouldn't have any part of it. I asked her what she saw. That's for starters. Number two, have you taken into consideration that Brooklyn Avenue is the main thoroughfare for emergency vehicles as they hurtle down Brooklyn Avenue, go to Kings County Hospital? The emergency room is over there. This will be a super disaster should it happen. Think about it. Ambulance moving, people on bikes, they'll come in and out. You'll have terrible accidents at that. Up and down that street, it's a terrible situation. That's number two. And the third thing is, I don't know if your agency is in charge, but you have inundated us and murdered us with city bikes. They're all over the place. In that corner, there's a city bike. I could go through the whole list of, this is causing more problems. The bikes don't move, nobody uses them. They're sitting parked there. So if you take everything collectively into consideration, I don't think this is a good idea. I know it's good for the bike people. They're probably the ones who are pushing it. But you're not taking into consideration the bigger picture of the community and the people who live in the community and make use of the community. Your response.
Thank you. So I think I can answer all those. The first one was about Rivka, the school at Lefferts in Brooklyn. And that is one of our biggest concerns and why we're here. Let me see if I can get to the crash statistics. Because that intersection really popped. There it is. So for those of you who aren't familiar, there's a very large school, Beth Rivka, at the southwest corner of
1,600 girls.
1,600 girls.
1 second, 25.
Sorry?
Lights on?
Think so.
No.
No.
Not hearing it.
Can you hear him though?
We can hear you.
There you go.
Now I have to hear myself.
There's therapy for that, don't worry.
Yeah. So it's a large school, and a lot of the students come from outside the neighborhood, so there's a huge concentration of buses coming and parents dropping off, and it's very chaotic. It's a very challenging situation. And we don't have details about it in this presentation, but we did meet with the school leadership, and we did hear some of their concerns, and we went back and met with them again to talk about our proposal there, which I guess I will try to describe it.
You just had it before. Like that, no? Yeah.
No, this is.
That is the same.
But this is a.
Yeah, but you know what, let me go to the cross section and explain a couple of things, how the cross section would be a little different by Beth Rivka. So you can see on Brooklyn Avenue here, I don't know if everybody can see this, but
That says between Empire and Lefferts.
right, thank you. Block. This block. So for this block, in front of Beth Rivka, because we know that there's so much double parking on the west curve between Lefferts and East New York Avenue, that we changed the design for that block. We probably should have, when we come back to the community board with the next formal proposal, we'll explain in more detail. Sorry I don't have the graphics now, but narrowing the bike lane for that block, and then maintaining effectively the width of 2 travel lanes, but making what would be the right travel lane a buffer space. So basically having a dedicated space where we know during drop off and pickup, buses are gonna pull over, parents are gonna pull over, give them space to do that allows traffic to move around them. It's something kind of similar on Lefferts itself. Lefferts has 2 pretty wide travel lanes, and our proposal is to make them more normal sized travel lanes and paint, I think, a 5 or 6 foot buffer in front of Beth Rivka on the south side of the street. No, just painted buffer space, just to acknowledge that people are gonna be pulled over, and we want them, and sort of, one of the things that happens on Lefferts Avenue when there's a lot of double parking chaos around drop off and pickup is that you see people start to move into the oncoming lane to get around traffic. So we're hoping that by installing some buffer space next to the school that can be used as loading space, both on Lefferts and on Brooklyn Avenues, that we can accommodate the school. And it's not perfect, it's still not enough loading space to accommodate all of the loading needs of the school. It's very challenging. We are looking into, correct me if I'm wrong, like expanding the school loading zone to the full, maybe it's already expanded to the full length of the block, or the full length of
For
the.
the school also, it's the full length of the school.
Full length of
As
the
well,
school.
there's another school, like a little further than that as well. So
Yeah.
like, there's only a few houses between the two schools, one's a
May I
Baker's
say
and
that experimenting and trying to do this, that, and the other will not work when a child is struck and hit, or two children, or a parent is struck.
I hear you, but I wanna respond to that and say that we're not gonna do nothing, all right? We see this corridor, both corridors have a concentration of schools, a concentration of injuries. Outside the Beth Ruthka School, we see a chaotic situation, that's challenging for everybody.
Do you know that
And-
following, up the street is a very large daycare center? Did you know that?
I just said that.
Okay, you did, I'm sorry. And I will also tell you that with the, when I was chairman, I forced the city, I took them down and they did it. You cannot make a turn onto Lefferts Avenue between the hours of 7 and 9, or 7 and 10, before you could do that. When I was chairman, I saw this. I went back to DOT, spoke to the commissioner, and brought him back down a second time, and that's when they changed that. So, you know, those of us who live here and breathe here and have our children or grandchildren going, this is not a good event, what is being proposed here right now. I'm just telling you straight up. I live a block, 2 blocks away, and I see near accidents every single morning.
That's why we're here. That's why we're proposing this. I'm sorry, but you had 2 other questions. I'm blanking now. What was the second one? Emergency vehicles, thank you. So emergency vehicles is a really good one to bring up. I don't know if we have a photo of it here, but these bike lanes, believe it or not, they're wide enough for emergency vehicles. And we tell the fire department, we tell the ambulance drivers that they can fit in them.
I drive an ambulance around New York City for the last 5 years, all
One
through
second.
Atlantic
We
Avenue,
had
all the way
another
down
question
to
in the back
Winthrop. I
here
drive
for a
for
long
5
time.
years, we work with the fire department. We take critical patients through Kingston Avenue, like you said, from Kings County, all the way down to the one on Atlantic. We come from Atlantic, from the bridge, sometimes we come to Kings County, and we go to Maimonides, all through Brooklyn Avenue and Kingston Avenue. And no one, I can tell you from experience, if you want to talk from experience, Parkside Avenue is a disaster. That causes. None of us.
The
none
bike
of
is
us
on
are
the ride
listening.
along.
None of us are our job.
That's along a
with the lives of
park. There's plenty
bikers
of
going
place
in
for
the bike
bicycles
lane.
there.
How crazy does that sound? Tell an ambulance with a patient in the back down a bike lane? Is that normal? We pull up to Parkside Avenue. If there's a UPS truck or an Amazon or one of the 50 other agencies that make deliveries that's double parked, our ambulance is put into park. Our response time gets delayed. It's already delayed with the fire department. Our response time gets delayed an extra 15-20 minutes. Maimonides Hospital, there's no other way we're getting there. From Crown Heights, from Bed-Stuy. I'm in this neighborhood. I go here every single Saturday night, every single Sunday night. We do shifts, 12-hour shifts. It is catastrophic what these bike lanes have. Parkside Avenue is an example you said. I will speak to that. I was there before this bike lane came on, and we're there now. We park. Maimonides ambulances used to be posted on Parkside Avenue. There's a unit that used to be posted there. We're no longer there because we cannot move around. This is affecting the community in a very, very direct way. And we're already suffering from the delayed response times. I don't know why we're looking to do
Can I
this on
say
Brooklyn
that
Avenue.
Parkside is a different scenario, it is a much higher traffic street than Brooklyn Avenue. And Parkside has a pinch point at Ocean where you can't fit in around the
I'm not talking about
areas.
the pitch point, I'm talking about a simple double parked vehicle. I want to give you another one because
I understand, I'm saying you
and
can double park,
Parkside-
somebody can double park on a street like Brooklyn Avenue, and a fire truck, like a large, can fit in the bike lane and drive it. They can't go 40 miles an hour, they
No
gotta go
one
be
is
slow and be
doing
careful.
it. I'm telling you from
Yeah, but they have cars on
no
that
one
side.
is doing
They
it.
have the side
We're not
where
weaving
they
through
swipe all the cars.
I've never in my life seen it in such BS.
1 second, folks, we have a question.
We're never ever going to end up on a bike lane, not a fire truck, not an ambulance, not even a police car. It is so unsafe.
And you're
and
going
it's
along
such
a park.
catastrophic-
There's plenty of places to park there.
I just want to add that all of our projects are reviewed by DNY,
I'm
and
sure.
no project is moving forward.
I'm
until
so sure about that.
DNY
Adam's
Please,
signs off.
it's not for you to insult our intelligent human
So many
beings
questions back
who
there.
live here to say that ambulance is going on a bike lane. The bike lane.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Let's gentleman in the back.
Down in the back.
Happy to wait out now. No protected bike lanes going well. So maybe if you haven't seen it, it might be because.
Parkside.
Parkside Avenue. Parkside Avenue.
But it's the idea of a pick bike, that ambulance is going to take a bike lane. Parkside is a disaster for emergency vehicles. It's impossible.
That's a member, not solo.
That's a quick comment.
Bedford
Avenue.
Avenue. Bedford Avenue.
I appreciate the multiple comments others have made. We were handed out this map, which I guess is from the CB9 Transportation Committee. It's a little bit different than what we're seeing here. I hope that we'll have an opportunity to discuss that as well in here. And, oh wait, that's Rafter. My question is that, so this is obviously a proposal for south of Eastern Parkway to create these protected bike lanes. There is Kingston Avenue above, the south of Empire. Above Eastern Parkway, Kingston has an unprotected bike infrastructure. Why does this plan stop at Empire Boulevard? Why not make protected bike lanes all the way up to Eastern Parkway?
I have an answer for that.
I'm asking the folks who are here.
Well, I'll say that the width, I should talk about this.
It's narrow on
It is narrower, thank you. But also, our goal was about the schools and about those injuries. Now, that doesn't mean we can't do it in theory from, or do something between Eastern Parkway and Empire. If that's something the board's interested in, please, let us know or give us a request.
You mentioned that Kingston Avenue was a corridor you were looking into. Can you say more about what you meant by that? Like you said, Kingston Avenue was a corridor you were sort of interested in. Was it just the part south of Eastern Parkway, or Kingston has a bike lane north of Eastern Parkway?
So Kingston Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor, which means it has a high concentration relative to other streets in the borough of pedestrian.
When you say Kingston, be specific.
Kingston, the whole thing, from Empire to, where does it end?
Atlantic Avenue.
The reason we're here, complaints from the CB, complaints from the principal at Wingate High School. That's why we came. Now, some Vision Zero priority corridors go like across the borough, right? So, the way these typically work is you start with a piece of it. If there's interest in us looking at other parts of Kingston Avenue, or the agency looking at other parts of Kingston Brooklyn Avenue, we're willing to. That's not part of this proposal.
Listen, we got schools along Nostrand Avenue here. Catholic school, IS 61, we have a school at Winthrop and Nostrand. And it's nothing, and the area is congested with people, and it's nothing but speeding traffic. I'm still asking, why can't we get speed lights there? Don't tell me about there's only a limit about, take them from Manhattan where they are not needed, and give it to us where we need those traps to help these guys, speed lights, and try to slow down their traffic. We have schools, like I said, schools are long there.
Okay, well, I want to answer the question as well. You were asking about why the bike lanes are planned above up to Eastern Parkway. Part of the reason why is because the street does narrow a bit after Empire, right? So actually, there's a part of the time where there's a bit of a bike lane design between Empire and Lefferts, and there's only one travel lane. It's 10 feet wide, and that could be an issue because like if an emergency vehicle stops there, traffic can't pass. Normal parking can't happen because there's only enough space for 10 feet, which isn't enough for a parked car and another one to pass. So essentially, a double parked car could stop an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, an ambulance from going through, the choke point, which is, in my opinion, a problem.
Yeah.
It's one of the obvious ones. But so I think that's part of the reason why it wouldn't freely continue up to Eastern Parkway, at least in the way that it looks now. That's my point.
It's helpful.
Yeah, quick,
I had two people over
Oh,
here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
get the three of you, and then
Me.
I get to you. Yeah, so I'm standing up.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to commend you guys for dealing with the safety issues of our kids, and it's really very important to us. So I know it's not an easy job sitting out there, so I want to thank you for your, it's hard to find that balance, so thank you.
Thank you.
I want to point out about the point from Empire down to East New York. Okay, so I live on that block. I pray there every single morning at rush hour. I'm telling you, the cop who's in the corner who's very, very busy.
Is that
Okay?
Brooklyn? Or?
There's a cop in the corner of Empire in Brooklyn. He's very, very busy every day. Okay, so there's a cop there every single morning. It is a tough place. Remember, Empire used to be a highway, 2 lanes each way. Now my kids can cross Empire. We made a lot of progress, good things. I want to make sure that I'm a biker, a pedestrian, and a driver. Okay, so I bike, I walk, and I drive. I wear all those hats. So I know what it means to be a biker, with to box your own safety. I know what it's about for pedestrians, and to be a driver, to make sure that bikers don't kill you. So I've been in all those places. Okay, so I have my own preference of mode is bike, but I'm taking my kids, I need a car. My kids aren't coming back my bike to go to the doctor's office. It doesn't work that way. So the problem is that Brooklyn Avenue has a few buildings, people live there. Big buildings. Buildings, people need to get, they're going somewhere, they're taking an Uber. They're getting deliveries, come with a truck, right? There's stores, commercial stores on Empire that park on Brooklyn Avenue. So the amount of double parked cars down Brooklyn Avenue is always double parked cars. There, they have no, you live on Brooklyn Avenue, there's no parking. I have to unload my packages or I'm delivering to there. I must double park, okay? So the idea, let's say, of a bike lane is a discussion, but a protected bike lane, what it does is basically you force people to say one lane. Someone's unloading, the whole Brooklyn Avenue stops. The ambulances, the people, the buses, the whole story. If we just move past East New York, we're from there, the traffic, I'm sure you can check the data. I do data analysis for a living. It's very different looking at metrics and looking at real life. When you stand somewhere and watch it, it's different than looking at numbers on the screen. Data can tell you stories you wanted to tell. I know that. So the data, I'm sure, says what it says. But if you stood there in the corner for 3 days and just watch what happens, you will see that if we took away a lane and made a protected bike lane on that street, it would be a disaster. There's 2 ambulance stations right there in the corner. There's 2 ambulances that are there, leave from there, okay? There is, the police station's a block away. Just remember, all those emergency vehicles are coming through. So protected bike lane is the issue. I just let you know, in Canada, where I'm from, what they do is they have plastic, they now are using plastic sticks, okay? So first of all, if you meet it, you don't destroy your car. It slows down the vehicles, okay? These will be replaced, and if an emergency vehicle has to go through, he will go through, right? So it's not the end of the world, it's an emergency, can go through. So there's other solutions other than concrete and putting a bike lane that is non-movable, that can't change. So I get the point about narrowing the road, it all makes sense. These are solutions. They do it in some place, I never see it in here, but they do it in other countries where it works. It helps narrow the road. Okay, you mentioned before, narrow roads help slow drivers down. It works, and if you do meet it, you don't destroy your car. You may get a scratch. So I just think the issue is those 3 blocks, protected bike lane. That's my biggest issue. So I think take that into consideration, stand there and watch. We don't want our city coming to a standstill because we have to balance the risk and also we have to live. Empire Boulevard is a parking lot the entire day. Traffic is terrible. I don't use my car, only if I must. I use my bike or I walk. But still, when I have to go out, it's impossible. And for emergency vehicles, it's not an option. So, thanks for taking my thoughts. Please take it seriously. I know it's not an easy job, but remember the people that live here, it's day-to-day life that matters to us. And these little things have a huge impact on our life. Thank you very much.
We will take into consideration what you're saying. And spend time looking at conditions around Empire and Lefferts and New York on Brooklyn. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Sue Butatic, I'm a resident here for 30 years. I'm a biker, don't own a car. I bike to work. I bike to all my errands in Kingston and Crown Heights. I'm not for a bike lane, and I'm a practical person on Kingston Avenue. I think it's an unmitigated disaster. And I'm a biker. I never have a problem really going up Kingston Avenue. You're going to put a bike lane there. When someone double parks, someone has to park in, has to back into a parking spot. You're going to stop traffic totally. And I think it's actually going to be a little more dangerous for people walking, and traffic's already slow. It's going to stop totally. You got to be practical. I agree. You have to have, it's called mixed use. So you have to understand, and you have to understand this community, I'm sure you do. There's a big Jewish community, and we're Orthodox. So Shabbos, there's 2 days of shopping. There's Thursday and Friday. People come Kingston Avenue. I know you're shaking your head. They double park. They have big kids' families, like this man said. And they come to Kingston Avenue for doctors, for food, etc., for pharmacy. That, you're saying you're having parking lane, and one line here. What happens when someone double parks? What happens when someone tries to back into a spot? It's going to stop totally. It's not really fair. It's not really taking into the needs of the community. You also have an elderly population here. Jewish, African American, Caribbean. And not everybody wants to jump on a city bike to get to their doctor's appointment. And what are you going to do when you're stuck in traffic coming up Kingston Avenue which you always be, and you can't stop, you can't park. So you're gonna double park, it's gonna even be slower. I think it's a disaster on Kingston Avenue. And I bike every day to work up Kingston Avenue, I pray there on 770, I bike home down Albany Avenue, I do all my errands. I get along fine. And I think bike lanes are great, there's an importance to them, but you gotta balance the type of community you have to the need that you have. And I think doing that, I don't think you're gonna see the consequences of it. It's not gonna be what you're looking for. You're gonna look at your bike's gonna be able to go up, everybody else can be a standstill. Not everybody can get on a city bike.
Thank you, and I agree.
If I could ask a clarifying
go ahead.
question also. I remember you said Kingston Avenue. Which part of Kingston are you referring to?
I'm talking about happening from Empire up to Eastern Park.
Okay.
Okay, so just to clarify, the proposal we're talking about here is from Winthrop up to Empire, not between Empire and Eastern
So we're on the
Parkway.
same page.
But also I just want to reiterate that cyclists are not the only beneficiaries of protected bike lanes. I finally got the statistic up. We see on average a 21% drop in pedestrian injuries when we install protected bike lanes. And we did a study 2 years ago about safe streets for seniors.
Do you have current data that says 2007 to 2017?
Oh, that was brought up last time.
This community board 9 now.
People who are quoting 2017 data old, I don't think there's anything that any abilities that cars have gained since then.
No, but there's something that's happened since then.
From 35 to 25.
Based on the pandemic and different things now, we have more deliveries, we have different things.
A lot more vehicles.
Yeah,
Right, there are more city bikes, so there's different dynamics now in the last 7 years. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay, I just want to point out that we found that for seniors, the results, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was something like 35% drop. So it was an even bigger benefit for seniors, because I think their seniors are.
I'll do some more later, but I got a question as well.
Yeah, I guess more of a comment. I bike every day. I also drive. I prefer the parking assist bike lane in park because I'm driving. Almost always, when there's a double parked car, which is always, I cannot move forward at a green light because there's always bikes coming through, and I don't blame them because there's the double parked cars. Having that park lane, like park protected bike lane, is just so nice because I know I'm not gonna hit a car. It's just really a lot safer like that. And really, I guess my comment is like, I think the double parking is the issue. Like my family's from South Brooklyn, we're a bunch of drivers, we double park. But I think now is like there's just so many fucking Amazon trucks on Nostrand and Brooklyn Avenue. So many, yeah, it's just like, really I think it's like these huge trucks will park for hours and just get away with it. Like, is there anything DOT can do to like really get these huge vehicles from South, like double parking, like more tickets, like something?
It's gonna bring your prices up, Joe. It's gonna bring your prices up. The tickets, the consumers pay for the tickets. When you buy something, when you buy food, they pass it on. They're not taking the hit.
Sure.
If I can respond to that, though, I'll respond to it. I mean, I don't think people are gonna try to prevent delivery trucks from doing their job because, I mean, we all wouldn't really expect an Amazon truck to try to find a park before delivering to one block and then trying to find another park someplace else so you can move into a different block. So I think if they're gonna double park, we're gonna generally accept that
UPS
for now.
in my experience, UPS and DHL, their drivers actually are the best double parkers. No, I'm being serious, because they are very considerate to the traffic.
Yeah.
Whereas,
That means that it's double parking.
but they are the most considerate out of all the double parking trucks, whereas FedEx, Amazon, the post office, they don't care. I'm here.
Can we add to this statistic, the new response times for PDN, EMS, and FDNY?
That's a great idea.
These statistics are very nice for the bikers. What's the ratio? How many people are being injured and hurt because the medical attention is being delayed to get to them rather than bikers being safe? Why don't we have that statistic?
The fatality rate.
Yeah. Sorry if you were about to respond. So, as the gentleman said, thank you for being here. You're doing excellent work. The Department of Transportation obviously has the experts and the data. And so my concern is that, as we know, the Vision Zero numbers are going backwards. The measures you're proposing, proven to save lives in cities and countries all over the world. And I'm wondering why we're so far behind the curve on basic safety measures when it feels like, I emailed the DOT responsible individual about this, and they responded to me, which was very nice. But it's obvious to everyone in here that the Jewish community is against this. Jewish leaders are on the record saying they're blocking protected bike lanes on Bedford, and now again, you guys are obviously very upset about this lane. So, but it feels undemocratic to me to let a small minority community.
I provide medical attention to all races.
I know that.
Wow, that was very effective at turning that to a race issue.
Those are built 50 years ago.
That was so effective.
Purpose.
Wow.
You're taking those roads.
I didn't ask y'all.
You're taking those roads away from us. Those roads are taken away from us. Those roads were built 50 before we were born. Those roads were built for trucks to get stuff to the grocery, for us to get to the stores, for us to get to work. You're taking those bicycle lanes. You're taking those roads away from us. That's it. It's not even a minority. It's the roads that we have that being taken away from us.
One at a time, please. Excuse me, let's have one conversation.
Thank you.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
All right, so,
Hang on,
Wait,
my
one
question
second, where you
is-
finish?
Yes.
My
Let-
question,
This is a racist comment.
why can't city, state and federal mandates save lives instead of bowing down to one interest group?
This is a racist
Sorry,
comment.
hold on, full stop.
number one. Number two,
Wait,
again,
wait,
you're taking those roads away
Hold
from us.
on,
Those
hold on,
roads
hold
are
on.
not new roads.
Hold
They
on.
were there for 20 years.
Wait,
It's
not fair to go unsaid.
Oh,
The drivers, yes.
The drivers.
What's us guys?
Excuse me,
So how did you drive cars?
We're still going
One second,
on.
one second.
This is called democracy, my friend. This is called democracy. This is called, DOT is not democracy, this is called democracy. But people who live here, who are impacted,
here.
like, good, so you have your opinion.
I do.
And I expect your,
And
and I respect
asked
your
that
opinion.
the board could answer my question.
I respect your opinion, but
Why are
my
you shouting
issue
me
is,
down?
no, my issue is, when it's not your opinion, it becomes us against them, and that's my issue.
I'm sorry,
You're entitled to your opinion like I have my
I'm
opinion,
one of the
but
few
now it
people
becomes
who's
us against
asked a
them.
question here tonight.
That's
Everybody
not
has
okay.
a comment. Let's
It's not
ask
okay.
questions.
It's not okay, that's all.
Everybody
Alright.
has a
Can't be
comment.
go unsaid, it's not okay.
I
That's not
know,
okay.
I know. I'm sorry
That's
for
it.
going out
That's all I'm
there,
gonna say.
but I
Thank
want
you.
to ask federal, state, and city mandates to protect lives, because the numbers don't lie. You know that count.
Numbers do lie, I do
Numbers
data analysis
lie.
for a living, you
Numbers
can
lie.
tweet it how you want.
I'm a
That's what I do
math
for a living.
teacher. I know I do too.
You're a math, that's theory, I do it in business for real life.
Come on.
Just keep me in mind.
Alright, hold on.
Allow this gentleman
One
to
more
answer
question
me,
over here, next, sir.
please.
I have a comment, okay?
Yes.
Enough comments.
Okay, enough. Okay, we had roads.
Do you want to answer why the state is, in his opinion, being racist?
No, I didn't say that.
And following
I
one
haven't used
specific
that
group?
word. Don't put words in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, why are you?
Respectful, folks. I want to say a fact, okay, a reality check. These are roads that were used, like I said, in the 70s, 80s, these are roads that were used for cars to drive, for trucks, for the economy to go. Number one, the economy is the artery. The roads are the artery of economy. Block those arteries, the economy slows down. Trucks can't get to this grocery store. If you have a refrigerator who breaks, and even bicycles have refrigerator that breaks, and now, because I'm doing home appliance repairs, it was $75 a phone, now it's $260 a service call, because the time it takes for my guys to get to your house. So all that, you have to take into consideration. Also, talking about taking the roads that we've been using, it's taken away from us. So you have to explain that. A reality check is this past Friday, I live on Montgomery Street. I walked at President's 5 blocks. There was an ambulance, a city ambulance, not a cell, a city ambulance for everyone, okay? I walked. I wasn't in a rush because it's Friday. Okay, I got to President Street. The ambulance was still back in Carroll, 2 blocks behind me. I was able to walk quicker than that ambulance. Okay. Now, another fact number 2. I know one accident. If anyone drives in Crown Heights, you see on Bedford, there's a white bicycle over there. young girl, a Jewish girl, she was driving. Apparently her bicycle malfunctioned and she went flying down into the intersection of Empire and went into a car. And that was it. It had nothing to do with the car speeding. It had to do with her. They don't have. We have on cars. We have a safety inspection we have to do. Bicyclists don't have any requirements. They don't have to have any safety. A lot of accidents happen because of bicycle malfunction due to poor maintenance on the bicycle. A lot of bicyclists get into accidents because they're going at crazy speed. When you should know. I'm more scared when my kid crosses one of those protected lanes because the cars know to look out for us and they have a responsibility. They have insurance, they have responsibility, they have a liability. Bicycles don't give a crap because nothing happens to them. Okay, and we had a lot of close calls on Preston Park on nice streets where my kids, they figure it's a bicycle lane, you know how quick it car, and a bicycle comes zooming from nowhere, just come. So I'm walking down the street in Empire Kosher. You guys know Empire Kosher? And this lady is like very, very, very casually going into the parking lot, so she goes and she stops because there are people on the street. This other guy, I see him driving the bicycle so quick. I look and he notices he eyes me. He's still looking at me while he's riding the bicycle. He impacted that car so badly. He went airborne, but he put a massive dent into the vehicle. What I'm saying is a lot of these accidents happening, not only because of the cars, but because people, or because the bicycles have in a lot of cases, they're guilty for the accidents that happen. Most of the times. Okay. The fact is, ambulance at streets. Parkside during COVID, when they had this Parkside, you could block the street. I had a crazy experience right where the hospital is on the Park Slope. Some people decided they could put a swimming pool right in the street. And you guys, you can't do that because there's a hospital here, and if one of your kids drowned, if there's a kid stuck in an elevator, someone falls up, you can't, there's got to be a limit, there's got to be responsibility. Okay, so, and another thing is, I'll tell you as an electrician, I'll close my comment like this. What causes a heating element to get hot is that you have electric, goes through metal which conducts heat, and they mix with material that doesn't conduct heat. So it slows down the electric, causes it to heat up. When people have to get to place A, I know one of them, but please have to place A to place B, and they cannot get there, it causes road rage, it causes people to go crazy. It causes people to want to drive over because they cannot get to, as a father, I had times where I had to get to my house before my kid gets home. Because if he gets home and nobody's there, and I got delayed. So all these things have to be taken consideration. I started driving, someone behind me, I got really upset at them. I was like, I'm going to teach them a lesson. Until I was in that situation. Now, I know if someone beats behind me, I move aside. I don't know if he's trying to get to school before, to get to his house before his kids get there. And I don't know if he just got a call that his kid was rushed to a hospital, and he's in a rush to get there. I don't know if this guy has to catch a flight. So if I'm in a rush, I pull over to the side. You have to take consideration. Just like blood has to go through our vessels, slowing it down is not necessarily gonna. Sure, someone has high blood pressure, give them pills, but if you overdose on it, it's gonna kill the whole. It's gonna go. The whole concept of prices going up has a lot to do with the economies being slowed down and people having a harder time getting things to place A to place B. And everybody's affected. I don't care if you're just driving a bicycle and you never went to a car in your life. At the end of the day, you still got to go to a grocery, buy food, and you still need a guy to fix your appliance, and you still need the elevator to be repaired. And those guys, the longer it takes them, they charge them by the hour from the time they get into the thing. The longer it takes to get place to B, the longer it's going to take, the more expensive it's going to hit everyone. Okay, when the bicycle breaks and they need a new tire, it's going to cost them triple the amount of price because you have more to buy. Done. Okay.
We have one question in the back over here.
Just a comment, you don't have to answer.
First of all, I just want to say that the comment that claimed the Jewish community was universally against the bike lanes is just like, hey, like out of line and also just like not true. I'm a Jew who lives in the community and I adamantly support the bike lane.
I didn't say universally.
And like, as a construction worker who often is working in Brooklyn, I'm biking early in the morning, in the dark in the winter, and that like having a protected bike lane feels like very important to my safety and my coworkers and union brothers and sisters' safety, and that I really want to see this bike lane. And I also, as double parking has kept coming up, I'd like to know why in this plan and like future plans, we've been talking about deliveries and double parking, why there aren't like designated delivery zones being added to blocks. This plan and plans in general.
Why don't we remove
some of the parking lanes and make them only loading zones.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
you're saying.
on the north-south streets, barely anyone can park anyways. 10 people fit on the whole block. 10 cars.
Also
sit there
help
a
with
whole day.
construction.
We like that idea, but I just want to point out, that would mean removing full-time parking. It sounds like there's support for this concept of installing extended loading zones along
avenues, not streets, avenues.
I think that it would be a little bit out of place, there's already a lot of parking.
Alright, so, I wanna know, like, are there any open street applications being submitted to this community board? Because if they, I know this is gonna go through, I know this mostly gonna go through with the community board, because we got Paco Abram on, as a community member, and he's captain of the Transall. I wanna know, will there be any, open street being declined, because if you put open streets, it's gonna make it worse with Hatola. I know Hatola, they do emergency, drive emergency, and you put open streets in certain areas, it's gonna make it hard for everybody else, it's gonna make it hard for them.
I just want to get clarification. Are you asking if there's currently any open streets in the neighborhood or in this area?
Are there any applications being submitted? I know, we don't know Transall is doing this, Transall is doing these applications.
Not at the top of my head, no, but, you know, if anyone has the right to apply.
But why you put open streets where you got these bike lanes, where you got these bike lanes in this area?
Well, the bike lanes aren't there yet, so when we review applications, we look at the physical structure as is at the moment, and these applications are temporary. So it's just not, you know, it's all very circumstantial, but there are none that I can speak of at the moment.
But eventually they'll put open streets.
I can speak for the future. I can say that people can apply if that constituents wish to do so.
I mean, for me, the applications do come to the community board. I don't know of any that are currently pending, but we have gotten them. They were open streets in September. I believe in August, Eastern Park was open street for a while.
I'm talking about DOT, I'm talking about like nonprofits putting one in, because like in North Brooklyn, they have one ran by some like organization called North Brooklyn Parks.
We got enough parks for that.
Let's stick to the issue at hand.
No, it's just this related to interpretation, because if you put open streets in your district, in your Hasidic area, y'all gonna be crying to the DOT here in the mayor's office.
We'll deal with that one. Well, those people can submit express applications, they come in. There's no like restrictions on those right now that I know of. So,
And it does come to the community board.
They do come, so if there aren't any coming right now, people haven't submitted them, it's not for any other reason.
I think I have two, hello? I think I have two, I do have a question, but I have 2 points. One is you have Vital Brooklyn coming in with 11 towers in that community, right? With no parking, right? So that means you're about to sit there and increase the density in that community that has a lot of support services, so there's gonna be a lot of need for a lot more cars and a lot more people and a lot more services coming into that immediate area. So the first question is, have you taken into consideration the fact that you're increasing the density is going to be coming, and taking into account all of the parking and all of the transportation that's going to be needed for those 11 buildings while you are planning this plan? Because that's what good planning does, right? It anticipates. So that's the first question. The second question is, you know, you have all of these schools and you have all of these children, and they're all walking, and now you have bike lanes that were never there before. Now, we've already seen all of the accidents that happen where children are walking, bikes are running through 20 miles, 30 miles an hour because they don't have to be licensed, they don't have to be monitored, da-da-da-da-da. And now what you're doing is you're actually increasing the flow of bikes. By putting bike lanes, you're actually increasing the flow of bikes, knowing that there is a serious issue with casualties when it comes to bikes, motorized bikes in particular. Now, the last time you was here, I asked you for a specific thing, and I wanted to find out if you gave it to me. I asked you for the statistical analysis of all of the harm, of the statistical analysis of all of the accidents that have happened since 2019, or doing a comparison between 2010 and 2024, and has there been an increase in casualties caused by motorized bikes or motorized vehicles that are not four-wheelers? And I asked you for that, because you said.
You did ask me that. I know it was brought up before when you weren't here, and I said, I did not get that. But
And again, wait, no, let me finish, excuse me, let me finish. This is the problem. They come, they give you, they want to do a change in your community. You ask them for statistical analysis, which they, right? That could endanger the children in your community by allowing more bikes into your community. When you ask them to give you the data, they always never bring it. They always forget. It's always something that's so important. To me, the safety of children is paramount. And yet, continue to come into this community without giving the data, even though you have the data, because you don't think it's important. You don't think it's important enough to protect these children. You want to talk about the cars, but you're not talking about the bikes. Also are causing harm. And they're causing more harm because they're not even licensed. And we know, I'm a biker, and I know bikers do not pay attention to the law. They run the lights, they go against traffic, they're on sidewalks. You would see them, a bike lane, and there's the opposite side of the street. Not even in the bike lane. So I know this. And yet you're going to draw more bikes into this neighborhood without providing the community with the statistical analysis of whether that's going to be an endangerment to the children. You need to go back and do your job. You need to be more responsive to this community and act like we have some intelligence and bring us the data. If you're going to do this to us, that's what you need to do. And stop telling me the joke about, I forgot.
could you, for our, and I hear you. You clarify exactly what it is you want. So the statistic.
Well, what do you think I would want? Tell me what I would want. I obviously, what do you think as an intelligent person you should be giving to us?
That's why I said you're not even taking notes. You're not taking notes.
Exactly, I agree with the one side. I think more kids are getting injured by those bicycles because they're not responsible.
So is the question how many pedestrians are being hurt by cyclists?
No, I want you to give me before the motorized, the motorized.
It's not just the motorized, it's even the non-motorized.
Non-motorized, but I want a comparison.
Of
Starting
motorized versus
2010
No, they're both
to 2014.
Any two-wheeled vehicle.
How many bikes have killed people versus how many crippled people?
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not doing cars versus bikes.
Well, then how would you what would you compare it to?
You compare the data of how many accidents have been caused by bicycles in 2010 versus how many accidents have caused in 2020.
Before the
That is one aspect.
Before protected.
That's right. Before protected and now.
So you're talking about bicycle, pedestrian crashes.
Not pedestrian, even
All
vehicles.
crashes, all crashes.
So
That has to do with
all.
So have bicycle crashes increased
Open the
since
door and
2010?
get knocked out by a bike. What do you
How
mean?
many
Touring is not drive, is not.
So we're all got that. Bicycle crashes, bicycle crashes, 2020.
Caused by the bicycle.
Caused by the bicycle.
So you're providing us this data right here, in which I pointed out to you and I asked you when you showed the slide, because I was the one, Alicia, who brought it up. Here is the data that we talked about before, and you're using this as your business for safety. You're saying that those 158 accidents happened with this particular time period. So we want to know the new data, the updated data, so we can compare to see if what you're proposing provides enough information that will justify what you're doing, as well as are you taking into consideration all of the points and all of the people
So
here.
I think we're talking about three things. I want to get along.
Make sure you write it down
Yeah,
now.
write it down.
Nobody's writing.
Being
Nobody's
recorded.
writing.
Being recorded.
Nobody's
Okay.
writing.
So one of them is have bike injuries in 2010 versus bike injuries more recently.
2024, 2023,
Okay.
where's your data at?
Some more recent data versus some older data on bicycle crashes citywide.
However, whatever that
Second
data is,
one.
you provide them.
The
I can
second
also
thing.
clarify something really quick. Public city mapper data for crashes involving vehicles and pedestrians, it outlines very well what was involved if there was a fatality, about pedestrian fatality or pedestrian injury, but it doesn't necessarily outline what caused the accident or what was involved in the
That's
accident.
correct. So, yeah,
So it
so-
doesn't, so you might see, you know, there are like less
You'll find it.
accidents.
It's harder than you, we'll get a statistic, and then you can download the original police crash report, and even that's often, incomplete or complex. So establishing causation is, we can find out, first of all, what has happened with bike crashes between 2010 and recent years. We'll look at that.
Let's make sure it's recent, let's pull that out and say 23, 2023.
I don't know if we have access to 23 data yet, do you know? Is it there? Because there's always, well, we'll have whatever's available. The second thing we talked about earlier was that we had a slide, and I can't show it now, I don't know what happened to it. We had a slide about general benefits of protected bike lane. We see a 21% decrease in pedestrian injuries where we installed protected bike lane, and that was for 2007 to 2017 data. You asked to update it with more recent statistics.
Right, from 2017 to present.
Because this was 2010 to 2017,
Thank
no,
you.
2007 to 2017.
That was a study we did on protected
That
bike
was
lanes
7
in
days,
2018.
seven
So we're gonna try to get some updated data on that. The third thing you're asking for, and I think you mentioned in the last meeting, was that we show, usually when we do, look at a corridor like Brooklyn, we use the data mapper and we spit out the 5 most recent years of that. And I think something you mentioned was that was a little old now, so I get an update on that.
You had 7 years, you think that's?
No, I'm not talking about the crash statistics on Brooklyn and Kingston Avenues, which is different from the overall wide protected bike lane study. So we get these 3 things, we are gonna get them.
Do you have an anticipated date of delivery?
Thank you.
Now, I want to
10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
How long, when was the last meeting?
June,
It was 6 months ago?
June,
6
June.
months?
June.
Was June?
I also want to know, and that might not be the most realistic ask in the world either. I'm sure DOT is not measuring everything about every street in the city every day. They ran a 10-year-long study about bike lanes. The same way.
Do you work for DOT?
I don't need to.
Do you with them?
No.
Okay, so we'll let them speak for themselves.
Fine.
Why are you defending them?
Because
You're supposed to be impartial. You are the chair. The chair is not supposed to be interjecting his opinion in this matter.
I
You are the
disagree.
chair.
He has a voice,
You
he
are
has a
no,
record.
the
Well,
chair.
first of all,
What if he doesn't want to be the chair? He relinquishes his chair if he wants to make a comment or position. He is not DOT. Pay attention to parliamentary. This is a community board. If you want to speak, you give up your chairship and then you sit there and you speak.
Well, what I
But
will
right
say-
now you are the chair,
what I
and
will
you are
say-
now siding with them. So
I am
stop.
not sorry, I'm saying it's just a fairness.
You saying the what?
In fairness is why I said
Fairness.
that.
Fairness. Let them speak for themselves. They don't need you.
They do. Or
Oh, you need them to. You need them. Do you work for them?
I'm providing text.
No. Okay. Do you? You know, I saw your resume. I didn't even see that you ever worked for them.
Right.
Okay. So what experience do you have? Besides the fact that you're, connected to Transoff.
It's
What else? What else?
It's a common sense.
Okay, no, I'm saying, what kind of background do you now have that you're producing that you are now the expert in the room? Tell
I
me.
didn't claim to be an expert.
Okay, so then please, you are gonna stay neutral.
All right.
Next
I'll leave that
question.
there. Cindy, you had a
Yes,
question?
please.
Yeah, so, are you still including the bike in Fenimore and Rutland? Because I understand that was not proposed by CB9.
No.
And, if so, what is the rationale for that?
The rationale, so I don't know if there's a way to turn the computer back on, but, yeah, we were proposing bike lanes, just the same kind of bike lanes you see like on Maple and Lincoln Road, or maybe I should say more like Lincoln Road, buffered, just standard conventional lanes on, and Rutland Road between Kingston Avenue and Flatbush Avenue. The idea there was that, while we're, expanding the protected bike lane network, in theory, that'd be a good way to make other connections. There's a bike lane on Bedford. This would help connect the Bedford Avenue bike lane to Brooklyn and Kingston. And there's also, a school on one block of Fenimore, right, just off of Brooklyn that we talked to. So yes, Fenimore and Rutland are part of the proposal.
So, I just want to say, I just biked here from Warren and Flatbush. I often do because there's no direct here. I just go down Fenimore to the Bedford Avenue bike lane. It's not crazy at all. Fenimore and Rutland are both residential side streets. They're low density. It just doesn't feel like we need a bike lane. I've never felt like I needed a bike lane. I did mention it to a few of my neighbors that I saw while walking on the way here, and she was just like shocked, and then like, no, it's too narrow, because we do have 24/7 double parking. And with a bike lane, it's a narrow street with a bike lane, nobody would be able to get by unless they drove in the bike lane. And what I've seen with the bikers is once they have a bike lane, they object to the double parking in the bike lane, they object to people driving the bike lane, they want enforcement, they want protected bike lanes. And I just don't really, as a biker, I don't really see the point. And if you are going to enforce those bike lanes, traffic will back up for miles, for hours. It's not an issue of loading zones, will double park overnight, every single night, because not enough parking in the neighborhood. I'm a biker and a driver and a pedestrian, and just other people have said, but the issue is behavior, right? Whether we can respect each other. There's limits to what street design can do. We're a very dense area. This is the densest district in Brooklyn, and like Nick and I, we came up Bedford at the same time, and there's a part of Bedford near Medgar Evers where we're like, there's cars blocking the bike lane. So like I got out onto the sidewalk, walked my bike because I know it's a busy sidewalk, and then back on. I guess Nick's a little more intrepid and he went out into the traffic. But I'm kind of like timid biker. I don't think I can handle that. So I did what I thought I could handle, and I did it with respect for other people. And that's really the issue, is that we need to be able to share in this way. And when we drive, we are very careful with bikers. Sometimes it's not easy because there's people popping out from between parked cars, or turning corners or whatever. I guess like just to interject a note of hope in terms of safety, I think the automated driving systems are very good. They prevented us from running over a rat on Parkside Avenue. So I think safety is going to get much better in the future. But just in general, I think I agree with the people who say that all of these street redesigns are bike lane that's up between on Flatbush, between Grand Army Plaza and Empire. I've seen it's gotten more congested since the bike lane. What I see people doing is they cross the double yellow line to get ahead of the pack, and the traffic cameras can't see them because they're too far back, and that's even more dangerous than if it wasn't so congested. And people are not giving up their cars. They're just behaving illegally, and there really is no other choice, right? Like on Bedford, if people are dropping off and picking up, that section of Bedford is commercial. There's deliveries. Like what are they supposed to do unless you're going to turn Bedford into a one-way road? Which Rogers is already way because of the bus lane. So like all of the traffic is going to back up on Flatbush. There's limits to what we can do, and to improve safety, I think it's just there's behavior issues. People have to respect each other.
So here's 801. We're supposed to be stopping around this time.
We have a person right here that got you.
So we'll take our last couple of questions. I saw you all for a while. I saw you too.
Mr. Squone, on you.
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone that's here. I've been listening and absorbing everything that's been said this evening. Now, the data seems to be a hot button topic, but here's my perspective. You're bringing this proposal to us. I'm a member of the Crown Heights community. And in order for you to have a complete and whole, entire positive outcome, regardless of all the antics and the back and forth that's been going on this evening. Data is important, okay? Since COVID hit, so much has changed, dynamics have changed. On Flatbush Avenue, on Franklin Avenue, there are 3 huge structures going up. There's the massive structure going up on Notion Avenue. We're gonna have another maybe 20,000 more people, maybe 10,000 more people living in that small little section. So I know that you guys have done a analyzing, but how are you coming up with this project without taking in everything that has occurred and the transitions that have taken place in years?
I think that there have been some big changes in the last 5 years, there's no question. You see it, you can feel it, you see it in statistics. But
and I get the data is not easy it's not an easy task. I mean, people talk about, yeah, I analyze and I do this and that with data, but it is a lot of work to break down that data in a way that's very comprehensible and acceptable to the members of the community. So I'm not knocking it because it's not easy.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
But I think I have some proven tools that we've used for many years in many different contexts. At this point in different eras, it feels like, and we continue to get good results. And we have been installing, roadway redesigns throughout the pandemic, every year, including 2020.
But specifically to this community, because these ladies, Alicia and Beverly, sorry, they are real anchors here, along with the rabbi that's been on our community board for many, many years. They're grounded in this community. There's like over 500 years of people, people who have lived in these communities and watching it grow and being torn apart. So it's important that your data and your presentation is very specific to our community. We don't want cutter solution. We really, you can hear the passion in this room, and I'm listening to people, and you can't please everyone. But there are some significant points that have been made that guys need to revisit.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I do want to point out before we move on is that sometimes there's a misconception that certain engineering treatments work differently in different boroughs, and what works in the Bronx couldn't possibly work in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's not what we have seen statistically. That some of the basic, the reason.
Based on what data?
Based on our crash data, and based on speed.
That's not current.
Hey, not all crashes are reported.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question.
Deaths.
But I guess we just don't want the thing happen in Brooklyn with the protected bike lane that happened in Queens. That in Queens, the protected bike lane was put in front of the dialysis center and the patients had it off on the corners instead of in front of the dialysis center. So who thought of that? I don't take dialysis, so I don't know how it is to go and come. So just putting it out there. If you're gonna put something there, take into consideration that they live there every day with their families, how they interact. That's all I'm saying. Because maybe it did work in the Bronx, but will it work in this community for the need people that live in that community? That's what we should be looking at. The needs of the people that live in the community.
A couple of questions and points. First of all, my name is Mayor. I'm a lifelong resident here. I actually work on the Jewish Community Council, but I'm speaking out for myself as a resident. So first of all, is it possible to do the next follow-up community input meeting at the high school so that you guys can see the extent of the amount of people that this is important to? That's number one. I think the turnout will impress upon you how important this is to the community. Number two, as a parent, the protected bikes, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. If I park my car in the middle of the street, I have a large family, and I have a mini. I park the car, I get out, I open the door, and now my kids are running to the sidewalk, right? Because why shouldn't they run to the sidewalk and go to wherever we're going? They're not thinking that there's either one way or two lanes of high speed bikes going north, south, whatever it is. And They're not looking, the bikes are not looking, my kids are running out, there's multiple kids, I can't grab onto all of them, they're all running out, and we're not talking about babies, we're talking about 6, 7-year-olds. They're not thinking about this. So my question to you is, what do you guys propose to do about that? Crown Heights has very, very large families, and this is a very, very important piece. So you, and another point, you're coming here not in the name of safety for our children. Wouldn't you think that we are the ones that have that interest most in mind? Second of all, in the event that things do happen and you're planning on doing the corners where they stick out and stuff like that, which is going to remove parking, do you guys consider to moving the city bays, city bike bays, which are top parking, and put them on wider sidewalks, so that way there's a give and take, and that way you take parking and you're giving us back some parking, because right now, there's, like we said, there's a lot of issues.
No parking.
Another question, you said before that the city data does not show causation about what the act caused the accident. My question to you is, if you guys cannot measure the causation of these accidents, how do you propose to do for anything? You guys don't know what's causing anything, so how do you know if anything's working? So show causation, so that way we can measure whether these things are actually helping. We don't know if the accident was caused by a car, by a bike, or by a pedestrian. So that's another thing. And another thing, if we can see data, last question. If we can see data, the data of the bike lanes and stuff like that, based on neighborhoods by family size. According to the census data, you could see how big the families are in the areas. And I'd like to see how like, meaning if you're measuring us to a neighborhood which has mostly single people, very few kids, one kid, older kids, whatever it is, you can't compare that to a neighborhood like this one, which has large families, a lot of children. So I'd like data as mapping up, if you could write that down and present that data. Thank you very much. And I appreciate it.
Anyone else have questions?
I just want to quickly echo to say, you said a lot of it, just the fact that all of these different measures, I'm a biker myself, I bike daily, multiple times a day. I've noticed that progressively it gets more and more difficult to park, as you said, city bikes, as well as this believe 54 parking spots are going to be taken off the road. They don't have a proposed solution how to not take those, parking spots off, but it's the fact that parking spots don't seem to be a priority whatsoever in any of these plans. It's just, I don't have a car myself, but when I do drive, it's a lot of trying to park in Crown Heights.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And just to piggyback on that, have you guys taken into consideration that the city of Yes is proposing that there will be no more parking in the future? That every development that any time development
Parking with the
builds,
buildings.
any development that gets built will have no parking. Have you taken into consideration?
That's not what
that?
Yes says. It just
Yes,
gives rid of
yes,
parking.
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
New building.
No, not in the city of Yes, not in the city of Yes, not in the text amendment changes. The proposed text amendment changes, have you considered that?
No.
The city of Yes does not. The city of Yes removes the mandate. If you want to build parking
Right,
in a
it removes the
building,
mandate.
it removes the mandate, but it allows you to build as many parking spaces.
But it
as you
removes
want.
the mandate, so you don't have to, and that's the
Exactly.
point, whereas now you have to.
People
So
build
you
parking,
take into
you make more money in
consideration.
the apartment on parking. People build parking because they have to. They don't have to put in the apartment, make much more money.
Thank you.
That's kind of silly. It's hurting everybody else who's living here.
Yes.
Right? You move it in the area. It's not fair at all.
I mean, they're saving $60,000 per parking space. All you have to do is the math, duh. They make more money. So the fact that you're saying that they're not mandated means that they won't.
They absolutely will not.
I just wanted to underline one more time before we finish that this is about safety, and this is project done to improve safety of children that are walking to these bus schools.
So that
this is
should be
not
important.
This is not a parking proposal
So here's the
project.
elephant. So why is bike lanes related? It's about safety. Why bike lanes?
Like we mentioned before, what we've been
No,
told.
why is there a bike lane proposed on Brooklyn with all about safety?
Gentlemen, hold on, a question
Right.
right here.
I'm sorry.
Adding bike lanes is supposed to improve safety for the children.
It does,
Yes,
it does.
but where's the analysis?
But we
Where's the
should
data?
have-
Where's the data? data? We want the data from 2017. Where's the rest of the data from 2017 to 2024?
We hear you, and I would like to hear the thoughts of that gentleman.
You don't have the data.
I don't have as loud a voice as Alicia
Years
does,
of data is
but I live and work in
You
a
don't
neighborhood.
don't be condescending to me.
I'm not
Okay, I didn't talk to you. I don't even know. Do not put your name in my mouth. I have the right to speak. Okay, everybody in this room has the right to speak. And just because I used to be a kindergarten teacher, so I know how to raise my volumes. Okay, so don't go there.
So we're gonna respect that and not
Thank
call
you.
each other no one's names, okay? All right, sir, what are you
I
saying?
don't know who the fuck you think you are.
My voice
That's
isn't
right.
very loud, but I do
Yeah,
live
right.
and work in the district. And like, I really appreciate what you guys are doing here to improve safety. And when I walk around the neighborhood, it is crazy. Everybody agrees it's crazy. Like, cars are speeding like crazy. Like, we all see near misses all the time. And like, I really appreciate if this plan improves safety, that's the most important thing for me. And I really hope that this really does improve safety. And it's so sorely needed. And thank you so much for coming.
Okay, I'm sorry, so then.
I just have a question. Do you have you considered going on ride along, like with EMS or with the hot salon, to really see what's actually happening in the neighborhood? The way the young man was speaking, who drives the ambulatory unit earlier in the
We're more than happy to have conversations, and I think I want to go back to, if I may, to this point. I have some myself. Have sat where schools are and have been extremely worried. So although I hear everyone's I drive, I don't bike, I don't know how to.
But when you go
Right,
on
but
an
other-
ambulatory unit,
of
it's a
course,
whole
I
different
understand
experience.
that, and it is something to be considered, because not only do we think about people's safety as well as also the students, and we have to think about it in a full year, and that is hard to do. I think anyone can commend that, anyone with even kids or 2 pets in a house, okay, right? Like, it is hard to satisfy everyone. I am more than happy to speak to emergency services. It's something, one of our tenets that we do. We speak to NYPD, we speak to PNY. If we must speak with Solo, we are more than happy to do so. It is part of the conversation. But again, I must reiterate, I welcome anyone to sit on that block, see the students who look like all of you be risk at life for the drivers are not on bikes, taking them into consideration. Everyone in this country should feel safe crossing the street to go to school. Am I right? Yeah. Correct. So thank you all for your comments. I understand we are sharing space and that is hard for everyone. Yeah. But it's something we strive for. Imperfectly or perfectly, depending on where you are, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, or New York. But we're here to listen. Thank you very much and have a good evening. Thank you.
Traffic makes very unsafe driving.
And we'll look forward to giving you data about what causes the accidents. Yes, we'll see how that works.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Perfect.
Good to see
You know your street?
No, but yeah, you're right about the font. It's cool. I mean, I don't know as far as it.
So it's finding the balance. It's not sacred rules that is. It's technology.
Oh, really?
I can do the same data. And I can tell you.
I didn't know that.
I tell you whatever you want to hear. What you want to select and show.
Oh, okay.
I was injured by a bike. I was hit by a rail. So there's no stats, no one knows about it. I suffer from biker hitting me.
I hate the e-bikers.
Oh, thank you. I would prefer not to leave it
Even just your first name?
Yeah, first name's fine, yeah. I live in CB9. I lived here for like 4 years.
Thank you.
How much did you
Not that right here anymore.
It's not exactly like 0.7.
balance sheet, that's what the point is, right?
I go from Pine Street to
I used to walk to the bar.
Right next to.
Right, it's all the car. Everyone took an emergency lane, they took away an emergency lane. I had to make a free lane. They took away the emergency, you know, that yellow, not yellow. They took that away, it's like they were unloading a car.
stuff like that. A lot of these, I have to choose, I was. The bicycle.
But yeah,
Listen, CB9. So like, I want to encourage everyone just to let the.
If I'm stuck in traffic, I want to get around. What do you do?
I